We are live.
I hope so.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the monthly movie dispatch, the movie review show where friends you can trust. Every week we broadcast a review of a new film, talk about some film news, recommend what to watch, what we've been talking about, critiquing, and just gushing over movies since we were young. We aim to bring you an honest conversation on relevant cinema. I'm Derek, up in Washington. Over here I got Brandon.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. So today we're going to be reviewing the film Cherry by the Russo brothers, but first we want to jump into some Oscar nominations came out like yesterday, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and we had
Hot off the
some,
press.
yeah, and so we had some opinions or just some first takes on what they decided to pick this year and what they decided to snub and whatnot. So, um,
Yeah.
what was like something that popped off to you that you noticed right
I
away?
think in general, like an overall census of these is through all the categories, this is a very kind of indie list. Like
Yeah,
through and through.
and
Even when
we're
you get down to some of the lower tier categories like effects and costumes, there's like no real blockbusters for them to put those technical categories on,
right.
let alone the like acting and best picture categories. So this is like kind of a very indie film list.
Yeah, I
Did you
mean,
notice that at all?
yeah, for sure. It makes room for like, a lot of those like movies that deserve a lot of recognition that wouldn't normally get it, like maybe Nomadland or something. I mean,
Like
Nomadland might broke through anyways, but it like,
Sound of
yeah,
Metal up for best film editing.
yeah,
Like you wouldn't normally see that. Like normal dramas in there.
yeah, for sure.
So that's just kind of unique, I think, for this year because of COVID and blockbusters being pushed.
Yeah,
Dune isn't like all over here, which it probably won't be
it,
next year.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, looking at the list because normally you see like gimmies in there, like maybe Trial of Chicago 7 might be considered kind of like a Oscar baity kind of movie, But I
Yeah.
think everything else
Maybe
on that,
Mank a little bit, David
yeah,
Fincher.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But other than that, most of them are kind of like what you'd hope to see up there. At least for me, there's a couple movies.
Kind of think so.
There's a couple movies on there that are
There's a
on
couple
my top 10
things
last year.
that
So
were surprising to me.
yeah,
I think Minari, while
yeah,
I thought that maybe I had a chance for Best Picture, one thing that was surprising is he also got up for Best Director,
yeah,
Best Leading Actor, and
yeah.
Best Screenplay. Like that's the whole like
Do you think that's like a?
quad like main categories. Like that's just crazy.
You think that's like a like being in the wake of Parasite last year? Like they're like, do you think that's
Oh,
an
branching out.
honest? Well, no, I mean, do you think that's like they're honest? Like this movie is one of the best movies of the year, or do you think it's more like we could bring more attention to this movie because Parasite like was
Right.
huge
Is it a
last
little
year?
political?
Maybe
I mean,
it's a good
the
movie
only
for sure,
I
but
would normally just say no because it's a good movie, but
yeah,
like Sound of Metal, which I thought was a even better film, isn't like up for best director or something. But no,
right.
I don't want to just like assume it's a political
No,
thing.
yeah, no, I get it.
I don't have
It
enough evidence for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was just kind of, it was like I wonder like if they're gonna try pushing movies like that wouldn't normally get nominated, which I think is actually a good thing.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
completely foreign language
Really.
films, as Best Picture, which is cool.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there's some
What else
weird
is weird on
things.
here?
Well, like I just will never understand the Borat getting nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay is just so strange to me. And Sean said I didn't
Yeah.
actually double check, but Borat One might have gotten nominated too. It just seems such a
Right. I mean, Borat 1 was such a phenomenon. I think it got nominated for screenplay just because, like,
there's
didn't know what to
people
give it.
there's
Even
people with lines in the
it's an
movie that
improv
aren't
comedy.
actors. Yeah, yeah, it's like improv, and there's
Yeah.
like
Half of it is literally documentary, 100%. And then the other half, maybe the other like 40% is improvisation,
yeah,
which doesn't require a screenplay. And 10% of it is typed out on a page. So it's
yeah,
like, it's kind of weird how you could give this award to a writer.
right. Unless you
Yeah.
consider like adapting like what they filmed into on like the editing bay and telling a story out of it. So that's considered screenwriting, but I don't know.
Writing after the shoot. Yeah,
Right?
I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
building the story around what you. I don't know. I guess that's kind of how documentaries do it, but those are
Yeah, it
documentaries.
could
You know, they don't
easily
have
have been there.
screenplays. So,
Speaking of the documentary category, I have two bones to pick because I was very surprised.
oh yeah,
In my head, the two biggest documentaries of the year that really had a huge impact was Boys State
mm-hmm.
and Dick Johnson is Dead, which were two incredible films that everyone I felt like was talking about for a long time.
Yeah,
Those are nowhere to be seen here for best documentary, which is crazy to me.
that is crazy. And Dick Johnson is Dead was on a bunch of end of the year lists too. Like people were considering it one of the
Yeah,
best
like
movies of the year.
straight up movie list,
Yeah,
not even documentary list.
yeah, yeah. That is strange. We reviewed both those movies on our podcast. I know we all really, really enjoyed them. Um,
Hmm.
Another just random kind of weird thing was Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield getting nominated for best supporting actor in the same movie. I guess I don't know what
Yeah,
qualifies
I
you for a lead role or what. Like, so they're the two main actors, but they're both supporting roles, I guess.
wonder if there's like a
Kind of like
screen
a
time percentage that like forces an actor to be in one category over the other.
right.
But it is kind of weird because Daniel Kaluuya, as I say right, is
Yeah.
said to be like the more hype performance in this movie, right?
Right. Yeah.
And sorry, yeah, he's said to be the more hype performance in this movie, yet he's not necessarily the lead.
Right.
Um, so yeah, but it also would feel weird if he was in the supporting role here,
Right.
or the only one in the supporting role here.
Well, I mean, but Lakeith
Anyways,
Stanfield was. It was the story about his character, right? The movie was about him. So it seems like. I mean,
yeah,
whatever, but
if
it's
anything,
just a
he
weird.
should be in the lead role.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a weird
Mm.
category. Maybe they didn't find room for him in the leading role. And they're like, well, we can just put him in the supporting actor role. But
And you see it happen over and over again that you get split votes and nobody wins.
right,
So that would be really sad if it happened here because that movie had incredible acting.
yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, interesting choices. Like you said, it's kind of fun to not see any blockbusters, like you know, up there. It's kind of cool seeing all these smaller movies.
Hmm.
So I'm actually really excited that Promising Young Woman made it in there. That's the movie's awesome.
In general, that's like a weird stylized pick to be all over the Oscars.
Yeah, for sure.
Dark comedy like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, those were the Oscars. Check them out. Are you trying to see all the
Check
movies?
them out.
Are you trying to get through all like the nominated
I'm
stuff?
gonna see The Father for sure because that's one thing I wasn't able to check out,
Hmm.
and I'll probably look more attention to the foreign films that are on this list that I haven't seen,
Yeah.
and look at trailers and reviews for them.
Yeah. For sure. Oh, I didn't realize. Oh wait, no, that's different. That's so close. Yorgos Lanthimos. That's different than Yorgos Lanthimos, right?
Wait, for what
The
movie?
father. Is that the same?
Oh,
That's not the lobster
there's no way
director,
this is
right?
Yorgos
It's just a
Lanthimos.
really similar name, I think. Just now
Wow.
saw that.
Okay.
Okay, anyways, but
Um,
yeah, so moving on. So the movie we're reviewing today is Cherry by the Russo brothers, who got started on Community and ended up making a lot of the really good, some of the better MCU movies like Captain America Civil War, Winter Soldier, and then Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. They started their own studio and made a new movie called Cherry, which is supposed to be kind of like a personal movie. It stars Tom Holland and Sierra Bravo. The plot, IMDb description is Cherry drifts from college dropout to army medic in Iraq, anchored only by his true love, Emily. But after returning from war with PTSD, his life spirals into drugs and crime as he struggles to find his place in the world. Was his name Cherry? I didn't
I
get that
actually
from
don't
the
remember. I
movie.
don't think so.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
where the name Cherry came from.
I know, like there's like we'll talk about it later, I'm sure, but they bring up Cherry in the during the war, one of the war scenes, but which I figured is what it was named after. But
Okay.
anyways, it's available on Apple TV Plus, so you can pay $5 for a month and check it out, and watch some other good TV shows and stuff they got on there. My first impression of the movie overall is it was a pretty big mess. Like, it was a drag,
Yeah, it
and it's like 2.5 hours long, and just like overall,
was really
like
long. That was surprising.
it was like I was thinking about it today, and I feel like this kind of movie, it's like I could see them trying to go for like a dark, um, uh, what the heck's the movie with Tom Hanks? Forrest Gump. There we go. It's like one of those movies where it's sprawling through someone's life,
Yeah.
and but it's just so like gray and like uh melodramatic, and
Mm,
like it's
it's a good
just
word.
it just drags you down, and it's for 2.5 hours. It's just rough to get through. So that's like kind of my overall take, is just like, oh god. And I watched it on like a Sunday morning. Like, these kind of movies are okay when they're made like so well that they really just grab onto you and pull you in. But like, this movie did not do that at all it felt like was like a rainy Sunday morning to me, and I like
Mm.
didn't have a good time watching it. But
I
oh, go ahead. Yeah, you can do your first impressions.
Initial thoughts. I mean, I agree with you. This is not a good film.
Yeah.
However, I think the film as a whole is worse than the individual scenes in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, like you're saying, it drags and it like culminates to something you really didn't like by the end.
All right.
I If I'm like to pick apart like individual things or happening, it's not necessarily the worst
Mm-hmm.
at a specific level.
Yeah, for sure.
Though I'm sure we're still gonna have a lot of complaints.
Right.
uh, I'm like surprised this is the Russo brothers like big follow up to their MCU film.
Right.
Uh, they tried really hard. There's a lot of style and a lot of kind of experimentation, though I don't think very much of it is original.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going for a lot of different ideas here throughout the movie, and none of it really adds up to being that special. I think they thought that having this like big of a downer of a movie could be elevated with having some like quirky shots
Mm-hmm.
and quirky voiceovers and I don't know, unique transitions, but it like failed on all those fronts.
Yeah.
And what you're just still just left with is this like drag downer of a film. Um, yeah,
I don't
it
know.
reminded me a lot of Hillbilly Eulogy, like a film that should have everything going for it, but
Right.
just melodrama in every way doesn't connect and feels forced um, and too long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there
it's just rough.
I don't is there such a thing as like pop filmmaking? Like, that's what I kind of feel like that might be where they excel at. Like, when you watch like Avengers and stuff, like they're really good at using
Mhm.
that creativity to make like cool flashy stuff in like a fun
Mhm.
story. But like bringing that cool flashy look to like a really, yeah, like melodramatic like drama, it just doesn't work. And what it reminded me of, which does work better, is like Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. Like,
Oh
it's
my!
just
I just
like,
had that in my head, Derek.
yeah,
I literally was just thinking that movie.
it's just like constant,
Yeah,
creativity with all the shots and stuff. But it's like
it's
that
the
movie would work
same
better. But
style as Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. 100%. They're going for the same feel. It's
yeah.
drama, but they're trying to like pump this extra pizzazz into it.
Mm-hmm.
Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl is incredible at it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's like
Good
that
comparison.
comes from like the like that's that movie's like from like the Ryan Murphy house of like making movies is one of the directors from like Glee and stuff, and they always do that. So that's kind of what I was thinking. It was like maybe it's like a pop style filmmaking. It's like for popular, melodramas.
Mm.
But yeah, it just does not carry over into this kind of a story. But I will say, like,
Mm.
those individual scenes did they looked good, and there was definitely like sparks moments that worked for me.
Mm.
I thought
What are some of those moments that stood out?
I thought the war stuff worked as its own thing, like completely out of context of the rest of the story. I actually liked what they were doing with it and what I think they were trying to like get across with it, which is just like kind of showing the pageantry and like it's very narciss or not narcissistic. What's the word I'm looking for? Like nihilistic side of like
It's
looking at
very,
war.
yeah, very nihilistic side of um, a war,
Yeah,
or veterans, or I don't know what they do.
all right. It's like very much like leaning into how they're really taken advantage of, and they're just bodies that are thrown into like this political thing just for I liked I think that what they were trying to say with it like got across to me, and I liked the way they did it while they were doing it, but I didn't understand its place really in the rest of the story except for like to show that he
Yeah,
has PTSD afterwards, but
I'm glad you said that, because like that ending part, because that, like, the way that chunk of the film fits into the rest of the film, it's a long section.
mm-hmm.
Like between 20 to 30 minutes of the film
Yeah.
is him in the military. Um, and I was trying to think like how it does play a lot into the rest of the film because of his
Yeah.
PTSD.
Yeah.
And but I feel like that's such a common thing everyone already knows and can feel for. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if they needed a half hour just to tell us this character has PTSD
Right.
from the war in Iraq. Like
Oh, for
that could have
sure.
been done just in dialogue, and we like after he gets, just showing him getting back from the war or something, like
Yeah.
in a montage. I don't know. Like it's a lot of the movie. And then I was even thinking within that 20 to 30 minutes, why did we need so much basic training
Right.
in the film? Like there's 10 minutes of that is showing him at boot camp for some reason, which really, really doesn't apply to everything else.
Right. Yeah, because the
It's just,
important like meat of it is at the end of it, really. It's like,
yeah. Yeah, seeing his friend, what happens to his, like, co-workers or his friends.
hmm.
It's The movie is really long, and I kept thinking of chunks of this movie that they could have cut, and because it's their own, production and their
Hmm.
own studio, I bet they just wanted to keep every single scene and every single word in this film that was written on page or something.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that military thing felt really out of place.
Hmm.
It sounds like within its own, you thought it was well done though.
Yeah. I mean, it it kind of plays into the rest of the movie too. Like my view on it, which is the word I was looking for was also sarcastic, because I think this movie's really sarcastic, like
Mhm.
in weird ways that I don't know why they did it. Like all the bank stuff, like the bank names are like
The
teenager,
Bank.
like yeah, like
There's one of the
or
banks is
like
called The Bank.
yeah, there's the bank, or it'd be like bloodsucker or something like that. It's like names that are like kind of like digs at banks, but it's like like why is that a part of the? Are we supposed to
Mm,
like that's not like it's so sarcastic that that's obviously not what it's actually called, but I don't know,
yeah.
it's just such a weird
It's
like
trying to go with this like surrealistic style, even though we're watching this really heavy
right,
melodrama.
yeah, but only with like the bank names. That's the only surrealistic like stuff in
Mm.
there. I will say like
You
uh go ahead.
mentioned nihilism, Derek,
Mm-hmm.
earlier. Um, And there's a lot of really brutal things in this film that kind of come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was surprising. And I remember one specific one was in the military section of the film when his sergeant like hits on a like 10-year-old girl
Mm-hmm.
when trying to right before giving her a bag of chips in Iraq. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it does like the flashback
Yeah.
to him in the car
And
or
he has to
something.
like sit in the back seat of the car and like listen to it,
Yeah.
and no one says anything because it's the sergeant or something. I was just like, who? It was kind of some like Vietnam War like type shit. Like everything
Right.
is such a mess in the military. No one's accountable for anything at all. You
Mm-hmm.
have people saying like stuff like this in front of their coworkers and suffering no consequences.
Right.
I don't know. It's just like, is this a lived experience or are they just writing like gross things to make this movie more dramatic? I couldn't
Well,
tell
yeah,
at
and
that
that's
point.
what I was like. It's kind of attributing it to like some kind of like a lot of masculinity being injected into it. But the movie was actually written by their sister. Um, I found out when I was looking it up. So I don't know. Like it's yeah,
There's
it's
also that
just weird.
shot when he
Just
was
kind of
introducing people earlier on in the film where it like cuts to the car and this guy is just like raping this girl in the car for
yeah.
half a second.
That was his sergeant, I think, wasn't it?
And the, was that also the sergeant
Yeah, I
too? The
think
same
so.
guy?
Yeah, it's the same
He
guy.
was. Okay. I was just I'm not like don't put anything about rape in your movie, but I was just like this character doesn't even matter, let
Right.
alone his flashback being the grossest thing you could think of.
Yeah.
Like, why are we even seeing any of this? It's such a waste of time, and it's just like vile.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I was like, is this an experience that this person, the writer of the script, had and is now
Right.
putting in the film, or are they just trying to think of gross things to throw at us?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah. It was kind of just weirdly mean spirited at times. I think just the movie was,
Mhm.
which isn't inherently a bad thing, but if you're going for this kind of like, I don't, I mean, that's just part of what makes this movie so weird and confusing and disjointed is like we said, it really is filmed like it's like this, like they're trying to be this edgy, like upbeat kind of like weird thing, but it's just so
Yeah.
dramatic. And then that's just another weird thing, like the weird mean spirited stuff they put in here. Um,
Yeah, like you go from that right to a shot from inside Tom Holland's like anal cavity POV as he's getting a
yeah,
checkup from a doctor. And it's a goofy ass shot, and they want you to kind of laugh at it and smirk
yeah,
at it. It's like, I don't know how these moods are blending in that
right,
way.
yeah, yeah. I was, it reminded me of like uh, Breaking Bad in a way that you mentioned earlier. They do like these quirky like shots, which Breaking Bad like got away with it all the time. They could just like do some crazy shot like underwater, like just looking up at people, like but
For sure.
they were able to blend it. They were able to make that work. That was their tone that they set from the very beginning, and they made it work constantly. And this movie just, yeah, I think it just kind of got away from him. It's just kind of, I can see, but at the same time, I can see like the through line from like Infinity War to this movie. Like I can see that filmmaking style and look like is present in both movies. It's just it's not for this movie. I
Mm.
think it lends itself very well to the Marvel style of making it more grounded, while still having a lot of fun. And it's like this movie, it, we shouldn't have been having fun with the story, I guess maybe,
Right.
but
I want to point out, like you mentioned, the war scene in its own right was interesting to you and worked well. Like, there's this one scene that really stood out to me as like a great moment in the film.
mm-hmm.
And it was when him and his girlfriend were on the bed, just high on, I think, Oxycontin at that point, just because it's prescribed from the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's still like kind of more in the harmless early stages of the film. And they're both laying there like super high, unable to barely move, but both like almost crying silently.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this like kind of whisper conversation to each other where they just realize everything sucks so bad. Either of us want to feel this way anymore. Let's just go like all in
Mm-hmm.
on this like substance abuse.
Yeah.
And after that, like, it clicks and like the story kind of shifts a lot. I thought that scene, while it's like really sad scene, was kind of touching the way they both like came to that realization together
Yeah.
in the bed, and the way it was shot, just like this super close ups of their like teary eyes, um, just caving to life. And like, this sucks so bad. We're
Right.
together. We're going to go in and start doing shit like heroin
Yeah.
just to feel something again.
Yeah.
Um, that was really effective to me. I was like, I perked up and was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Um, Adding to that, to them all of a sudden being lively because they're like super on drugs and
Right.
kind
Like
of able to
making
function
breakfast
again
and stuff.
and not be
And
depressed.
yeah.
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 That was a great scene for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think the actors were great in it. I mean, Tom Holland, like,
Yeah.
he's great in it. It's hard, part of the problem with the movie is it's hard to really know like what this character is because he's just like constantly changing. But to his credit, he acted his heart out throughout the whole movie. Um,
I agree. And Sierra Bravo,
mm-hmm.
I wasn't really sure, like she wasn't given too much for a certain amount of the movie. And then actually I think it was right before the scene I just mentioned, Tom Holland's in the bathtub, just like
Mm-hmm.
drugged out. She comes in and finally snaps.
Yeah.
And it's so quick and so real the way she screams at him. I was like, whoa, she's got some acting chops like
Yeah.
buried in her. Like, this is great. Um, she does. She has a good performance all the way through as well.
Yeah. No, she's really good. I was thinking, like, towards the end, I don't know if we really care about spoilers. Because I'm
Want
thinking,
to move to spoilers right now?
oh,
Should we just
sure,
do it?
spoilers. Yeah.
Let's do
Uh,
it. All right, we're going to talk about the ending and specific later half plot points. So
yeah.
if you haven't seen the movie, stop now. Come back later.
Yeah. Do it. Part of me kind of thinks like they chose these actors as part of like their, like as sarcastic as the movie is. I kind of feel like they want you to okay. What I'm trying to get at is at the end, Tom Holland has like a mustache and he's like in prison and
Mm.
he has like a little bit of makeup on to make him look older and stuff. He still looks like a kid and like
Mm.
she still looks like a kid. And I'm kind of curious if they specifically cast these two because they look so young and they wanted to have these young people go through all this horrifying stuff. And at the end, it's almost like a sarcastic, like, he doesn't look old at all with his mustache and like he's like still a kid. And I kind of am
Doesn't
curious
help
if
that
like,
Tom Holland looks like a high schooler
exactly.
all still.
Yeah.
Like he's a young looking 20-year-old at this point.
Yeah.
She is too, like
Yeah.
maybe even more so. So like they didn't even get normal 20-year-old actors.
No.
That
Like,
doesn't help either.
he's still playing 16 in Spider-Man, like easily. And he
Easily,
looks
yeah.
like that age. So, like, part of me wonders if they casted them because even when he walks out of prison, at the end of the movie with a mustache, you're supposed to still look at him as a kid. Might be reading too much into it, but that's kind of what I was like. God, I just was
Yeah.
never sold on that whole section, that whole ending section. Just didn't. It
I
didn't work so much that I thought that they were going for something else than what they were actually putting forward. Yeah.
think you're reading too far into it. I'm pretty sure they got Tom Holland because they worked with him
Yeah.
before, and he kind of fit the part, like
Right.
age wise. So, and he's a
And
big
he's a good
name, so they're
actor.
just like, yeah, let's ask him, and he says yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it just worked out probably for them
Yeah.
in a good way.
I'm trying to give them
The
the benefit of the doubt, and they were going for something really artistic there.
because they look super young. I want
Uh,
to ask about in towards the end, you have kind of this like Tom Holland sacrifice slow motion.
mm-hmm.
How did that feel to you as a climax? Because I didn't really feel like he gave up that much. Like
Yeah.
he just robs another bank. He does drugs with his girlfriend one last time. He pays a drug dealer that would have killed him anyways.
Right.
I don't know. It was like it kind of seemed like it was or supposed to feel like he overcame a lot,
Right.
but I didn't feel like it redeemed very much for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it honestly by that point in the movie I was so exhausted too. And like I didn't
Agreed.
really put much thought into it at all. I was just like, okay, this must be the end because this is happening as it would,
Mm.
And yes, I mean, so on that note, it didn't work at all for me. Like it had almost no effect on me. And it was also like even that scene was just done so weird. God, I feel really bad. I feel like we're really just hammering on this movie, but like that
I
scene drags
mean,
on for
I
like 5 minutes. Like he goes out in the street and like shoots his gun, and then like the cops don't
yeah, they
come,
just stick with that
and
slow
then he
motion.
just
It's
sits
like they
down.
put it at like 15% motion
Yeah,
and it just turned the scene 5 minutes. They're like, okay, the shot's gonna be 5 minutes then.
yeah. And the cops like in the background like go the opposite way, and then like the camera just stays on him, and he starts doing some heroin. And then like the cops slowly make their way back, like, and then arrest him. And yeah, it's just
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I
it's a
mean,
little awkward.
also like I feel like the movie starts out with him doing a voiceover of talking about how wearing a mask doesn't matter because like everyone already knows his face from all these robberies and stuff. But then at the end of the
Yes.
movie, the climax is him taking off the mask, like during a robbery, right? And then like, but he already told us that that doesn't really matter. That's not
It
like a.
doesn't matter.
So I don't. Yeah, it just.
I also felt they really dropped the voiceover. Like I was waiting for it to come back and give us something big,
Yeah,
but it doesn't apply to the last third of the film
yeah.
almost at all.
It. Yeah,
Um,
it didn't really work for me.
so many negatives.
Yeah,
I'm starting to feel bad
I feel bad. I
because
mean,
I have so many more things to say.
well, it's just, it's just one of
You
those
mentioned you
movies
were
that.
numb at the end.
Yeah,
The with the very end, I was actually kind of upset when she shows up at the prison
yeah.
and it ends with him smiling. Like from the start, they were so like bad to each other and for each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're probably supposed to assume there was like a lot of abuse, and that's why they did the things in
Yeah,
she did the things to
I
him
think
and he
so.
did things to her in college, where she was so reluctant. But there was no point in the movie where we like saw them being good to each other and being honest to each other. Um,
Except for that one,
before he
that
goes to
one
war and heroin.
post heroin breakfast. They.
Yeah, really. And when she shows up at the end after all the awful things they've done
Yeah.
to everybody and everything, and it's just and he it ends on his smile, like they live happily ever after kind of ending. I was like,
Right.
it was just really cringe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'd probably checked out at that
Yeah. I
point.
mean, I mean, I. It's not like I was falling asleep or anything, but it was just like it was still just dragging. It's like this is still going on. Like it just. I'll say after probably the 2 hour mark, like just nothing was working for me at all, and I was just kind of like trying to get to
Mhm.
the end of the movie, and nothing really happens in the last 20 minutes either. It's like a quarter of it is the slow motion of him sitting in the street, and then there's a
Quarter of it.
montage of him at prison,
Yeah.
like a really
I
happy
didn't like
prison
I
too,
liked
like the happiest prison.
I kind of liked the prison montage, not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Like for a second that was working for me.
Hmm.
As like a where the words come up on the screen where it's like it's not just 1 year, it's the next 15 years or something
Right.
text. And then it goes into montage form of just those 15 years in prison.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a cool concept.
I.
If I still cared, which I
Right.
didn't.
That's those like bursts of
Um,
creativity that are sprinkled throughout the whole movie. Like I definitely like them a lot as filmmakers still. This doesn't really slide me in any direction like negative or positive. Like but it just feels
Still
overall
falls into the
just
category of being interesting.
right. Yeah, it was worth watching. I'm glad I've seen it. I'm glad I kind of see like the things they're trying to do, and it's cool to see. I like seeing things that don't work too, as much as I wish they weren't 2.5 hours. Like if they cut an hour off of this, it would have been awesome. But I still like seeing things that don't work because it's interesting to see what doesn't work. And see like um, shots that they took that just didn't make it.
Hmm, sure.
To me, that's interesting. Brandon's like, no.
Oh, I get it. Like they tried really hard, and it was interesting to see how. Honestly, it was interesting to see how it failed.
Yeah,
How much effort was put into this film.
yeah. That's the positives of the movie. It's good to see what a bad movie looks like. Uh, what did you give it on Letterbox? I don't think you rated it before we.
I don't think I have,
Uh,
but it's got to be a 2 or lower.
I yeah, I gave it. I honestly right away gave it a 3 because I was like it had some stuff in there I liked. Then I started lowering it. I got rid of my heart and brought it down to 2.5. It's like yeah.
Mm,
So it's
that
work.
makes sense.
It's kind of it's work. It's not an easy like just sit down and watch movie. So I don't really recommend it, but I can't recommend it to anyone, but at the same time like go watch it, decide for yourself kind of thing. So um yeah, any last thoughts you want to put in about the movie?
While we were so down on it, I do want to say there was a lot of style in this movie. There's a lot to look at, and there's great performances and a handful of standout scenes sprinkled in this long film.
Hmm.
So it's not all bad. There is stuff there.
Yeah.
Go check it out if you're curious about the Russo's new film.
Yeah. Cool. And that's on Apple
Mm.
Plus right now. So if you have that, it's free. Just pop it in and watch it. So next week we are going to be reviewing Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is another slog
Wow.
4-hour movie. I don't even know how I'm gonna
four
watch it.
hour.
I don't even know. Like, do I sit down and watch a 4-hour movie like in my living room with my wife and kid,
Split it
or
up.
do I?
Go easy on yourself. Split it
Yeah,
up.
yeah. I feel like I need to watch it on like the TV, like, and it be like loud. This isn't like a hang back with your headphones tablet movie, but um, yeah. So
I
that'll
will try
be
to watch it, though I will not be there with you guys.
yeah. It'll be me and Nick next week. Um, and yep, same time, same place, Tuesday, 8 o'clock. If you guys want to like and subscribe, we'll be doing this every week. We change hosts between the four of us, but yeah, I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
Stare.
have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Later, everybody. Bye.